Oh, okay. I mean, hey, I feel like at this point I'm kind of used to this feeling. I'm kind of numb to this feeling with this team. Coming home after yet another loss. As you guys can see, I'm not at my office because I'm actually in LA. I just got back from SoFi Stadium. Our home away from home, our vacation home, and you guys already know the deal. Raider Nation always going to show up no matter what. But the biggest question going into this game was whether or not the Raiders team, the coaches, the players, were they going to show up in this game? Were we going to come away and finally win a game here in LA one time in front of the Raider Nation that showed up yet again? But quick answer to that is no, because the Raiders lost another game. I don't even know how many games it is so far right now, but the Raiders now sit at 2-10 on the season. I mean, Pete Carroll promised us 10 wins. He usually wins 10 games every single season, but I guess for the Raiders, I mean, we got 10 losses already, and right now sitting at the number 4 overall pick in the NFL draft, so that means we're slowly moving up right now. And the Raiders officially is eliminated from playoff contention. I think we were eliminated like halfway through the season, but at least right now it's official. So that means we're not playing for anything but pride at this point. And for me, this was the only game that I really wanted to win just for pride because I've always gone to all the SoFi games here in LA. And I just love the vibe that we bring the Raider Nation, and we just continue to lose year in, year out, and then we got to deal with it, leaving the stadium, leaving LA and whatnot, and having to listen to all the 12 Charger fans hooping and hollering about this victory. Nonetheless, the Raiders lose this game. Frustrating loss, but like I said, nothing new. This is what we're used to. Now, I will admit that the offense played slightly better, but not by much. Now, I will say in the first half, the Raiders did look a little bit competitive because going into the half, it was 7-7. The defense came through for us on multiple occasions, and the offense kind of got things going. They drove down the field and was able to get a touchdown before the half. But coming out of the half, that's where things went downhill. Chargers getting the ball on the first possession, and then Kimani Vidal, 59-yard rushing touchdown to the end zone on one big, huge play. And that's where I felt like the momentum started to swing towards the Chargers' way. Defense definitely was not perfect. Offense was not perfect as well. Offensive line continues to struggle. And it just goes back to, was everything on Chip Kelly, or was it the players and the positions that they were put in? Now, I know Chip Kelly wasn't great, and he wasn't doing a lot with this team, but you got to look at all the other aspects on this team as well. Brendan Carroll is a big name that a lot of Raider Nation, including myself, is looking at and wanting to get fired on this team because looking at the offensive line and how bad they've been, it's the same damn story. And it goes right back to our head coach, Pete Carroll, who I believe was on the hot seat going into this game, and I believe his seat is even hotter coming out of this game. But as much support that I do have for Pete Carroll, I don't see him coming out of this season as the head coach going into next. I feel like the Raiders are going to just strip it down and move forward with a different head coach because I just don't think that Pete Carroll is getting it done. Now, the only thing that he will be helping this team with is a high draft position. And looking at the last couple of games of this year, I don't think the Raiders win any other game, and rightfully so. There's no need to win any more games at this point. The Raiders have to move forward, and they have to get the quarterback of the future in the NFL draft. If you bring in a veteran, whether it's Kyler Murray or any of these other jabronis out there, you still got to draft the quarterback of the future. And that's something that this team has continued to look over year after year, regime after regime. And that's why I was so high on getting a guy like Shedeur Sanders, who right now I would rather have than Geno Smith. Right now, who I would rather have on this roster than AOC. Right now, who I would rather have on this roster than Kenny Pickett. Any one of those quarterbacks, I'd rather have Shedeur Sanders. But you know what? That's in the past. Moving forward, the Raiders have to address that position if we want to build a future for this team. We've got pieces all over this team. Of course, we got the Max Crosbys of the world. We got Brock Bowers. We got Ashton Genty. Outside of that, we really don't have any cornerstones on this team, especially at the QB position. And Geno Smith definitely has shown this year that he was a huge miss. I understand the Raiders taking a huge swing bringing in Geno Smith, especially with the experience that he's had throughout his whole career, especially playing under Pete Carroll. I understand the reason why the Raiders wanted to bring him over here, but it was a huge swing and a huge miss by this team. We got to just take it to the chin. And I admit to you guys, I was wrong about that decision. I'll admit to you guys that I was wrong about Pete Carroll. But one thing I will continue to say is that the Raiders have got to find the right guy, and they've got to find the franchise quarterback of the future in the draft. Now, harping on Geno Smith. He didn't have a great game, and he didn't have a totally bad game. He was 18 for 23 for 165 yards for 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. On top of that, he was sacked 5 times in this game, and the offensive line just continues to struggle. Like I said, Brendan Carroll isn't that guy. Neither is Geno Smith. Then you look at the run game with Ashton Jeanty, 15 carries for 31 yards. This is the 10th game where the Raiders have rushed under 100 yards this season. And that's kind of crazy because you drafted a running back like Ashton Jeanty real high in the draft and expected him to come in and just run through everybody. He's not breaking off for those big runs. He's not really putting the team on his back and winning these games on his own, which I totally understand because he's a rookie. And you've also got to have a solid offensive line. Like I said, going right back to Brandon Carroll. I really don't understand why he still has a job in the first place. I will give some huge props to Brock Bowers, having yet another huge game. Now, he didn't have a lot of yards, only 4 for 63, but he had 2 touchdowns on the day, looking like one of the better options for the Raiders. Yes, Brock Bowers is a great talent, but that's the only offensive weapon, receiving weapon that scares any defense out there. We have nobody else. There's no separation out there, and it's kind of hard for Geno to make his reads, especially with barely any time in the pocket. But finding somebody else outside of Brock Bowers, especially if the defense is doubling him out there, you can't expect them to force it to anybody else. I mean, Geno Smith had an interception in this game, which was kind of crazy. It got tipped up in the air from outside to the inside, and I'm like, bruh. But again, offense did look a little better, but not that much. I don't know. I know a lot of Raider fans are always saying, yo, Simone, why do you keep going to these games? Why do you keep doing this to yourself? Like I said before, I do this for the content, for the people, and just meeting fans, because the fans are the best part of going to games, especially at the tailgate. And there was still a lot of Raider fans there. Don't get it twisted. And even at the game, Raider Nation, I would say, was 60-40 in this game, but there was a lot more Charger fans there. It wasn't as blacked out as it usually is, for the mere fact that I understand a lot of fans didn't even want to go into the game. But a lot of Raider fans were there to tailgate, and I will give a lot of props to the Raider Nation for coming through and showing out yet again at Pink Lot. It was a huge tailgate. A shout out to everybody, all my supporters, everybody that stopped me, took a picture of me, man. LA always shows love, and that's why I got a soft spot in my heart for LA, because they always come through and they support your Oos. And hey, it just seemed like I couldn't walk anywhere, because every single turn, it was always somebody saying what's up, and it always makes me feel good that people actually watch the channel, watch the podcast, watch the shows, even be on Instagram and supporting as well. So like I said, you guys are what keeps me going to these games, these events. It's basically the fans, and also going into the stadium and hoping for the Raiders to do something different, which that goes right back to me, because it's my fault for expecting the Raiders to be better than they actually were. Nonetheless, though, if there's anybody that embodies the spirit of the Raiders as much as the Raider Nation, is definitely Mad Max Crosby, man, having a day today, having 9 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. Not only that, Big O's straight shoved Justin Herbert. I mean, watching that reminded me so much of Richard Seymour when he punched Ben Roethlisberger in the face and just dropped him. I know it came out of nowhere, and a lot of Charger fans were all mad and whatnot, but relax. I know Max did apologize to Justin Herbert right after that. It's like, Max, you don't have to apologize. Man, that's how we all feeling right now. We all just want to drop a Charger fan, but it was good to see that he dropped Justin Herbert just one time for the one time. I know he did apologize, though. He apologized because, he thought he was screaming in his ear and whatnot, but Justin didn't, and they went back and forth. I just know that one day, the Raiders are going to turn it around, but that day ain't today. And I don't think it's going to happen this season, or maybe even next season. But all we can do is build for the future. Like I said, the Raiders have got to strip everything down. I've continued to be that person to, stay optimistic with the coaching staff and hoping that Pete Carroll can keep his job moving forward. But honestly, I don't think that he's going to be here next year. And if I had to make a decision right now, maybe I'm being emotional, but the Raiders have got to move on, and they've got to find the coach of the future, especially with somebody that we can build with and have a longer timeline with, moving towards the future with John Spytek over here. And we've got pieces here. We just got to build on it. Like I said, go draft the quarterback, build that offensive line, and I think we'd be okay. That's all it takes. That's all I think it would take for the Raiders to turn everything around. But Raider Nation, man, how do you guys feel about this game? How do you feel about this team? Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, heck, Max Crosby. Raiders are eliminated from the playoffs right now. What do the Raiders have to do moving forward for you to feel at least okay with this team? And do you see a world in which Pete Carroll does keep his job? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Until the next video, this your boy Simone Raider, and your boy is Yow.